Welcome to How to Create Passive Income in Your Business. I'm going to hand it over to Lynn Gibson, who has helped me tremendously over the last 3 years. If you have seen differences in our business, if you've been around our business as long as Lynn has, he was a client at one point in time and actually fired me as his CPA at one point in time, but it actually ended up being a really, really good thing. And I learned so much from Lynn as a result of that, and am able to speak with him on an almost daily basis. And it has tremendously helped our business at Croft and Frost. So Lynn, I am going to pass it over to you, and really appreciate you being on here. You are a mentor to me, and I am just so grateful that that we're doing this. We've been talking about this for a while, and here we go.
Excited about being here. Yeah, when I started working with JD, I changed my whole marketing plan. Now it's just, if I can help JD, you know this is going to work. So we'll start from there. Really excited about being here because we're going to be talking about a subject that I'm so passionate about. When you hear more of my story, you'll see why. And tonight, my objective is to talk about helping you build what I call a self-managed company. Some call it business passive income, but it's basically building a business that doesn't have to have you there all the time. A business that's possibly sellable, more manageable, operating as a company and not necessarily just you. The way we're going to do that is we're going to talk about how this traction book that a lot of people are using can fit you into a process to help you do that. But that book is pretty deep, pretty complicated, takes a while to implement. My goal is going to be just to give you a good overview, a flavor of it, help you decide if that's a concept you want to use going forward. And in that process, maybe talk about some nuggets, some things you can put to work immediately in your business. But let me start with telling you a little bit about my story, a little background, where I come from and why I do what I do now. It probably doesn't take you long to pick up on this accent. I'm about as Southern as you can get, country as cornbread. Grew up here in East Tennessee, live in the same town I grew up in a really blue-collar family. My dad was a long-distance truck driver. He was gone 6 days a week. My mom worked at the Little Debbie factory. Any of you that have an addiction to Little Debbie sweet rolls and whatever, I suppose maybe that's her legacy. But I grew up in a wonderful family, and the fact that my parents were blue-collar workers and they were busy, and me and my 3 older brothers were just free to roam, and we got in every creek and river and lake and probably a lot of things we shouldn't have gotten into. But it let us grow up in a way that we learned and became very independent. The problem was that we just didn't have a lot of guidance about our future, nothing about business. My dad knew no one in business. And we didn't even talk about college or anything like that. We just had kind of a blue collar mentality. But somewhere in there, I guess I was born with a business gene. I was that kid who had a lemonade stand at 10 or 11 and always trading bicycles and then motorcycles and cars and boats, and always had a little money in my pocket and carried a full-time job as well. Well, I guess I must have developed into a salesman to some degree, because when I was 17 years old, I convinced my high school sweetheart that we should get married. And a year later, we had a baby. And I woke up working minimum wage at Kmart with a family, a non-working wife, and life just changed. That beer drinking, fishing all the time went out the window. So I was really in a difficult situation, but I just kept thinking about something about business. And one day, I guess God's intervention, working in Kmart, a woman came in, dressed nice, taking her time. I asked her what she did. She said she sold life insurance, made a lot of money, didn't work that much. And I said, I don't know what life insurance is, but take me to your leader. So she did. And I was excited to meet this guy, but I soon found out he wasn't very excited to meet me. He just said, this is ridiculous. You're hardly even old enough to take the test, much less thinking you can pass it. So I said, well, let's make a bet. I'll pass the exam, self-teach myself. If I do, you give me the kit. I'm in the life insurance business. And that's how I started. cold calling, going down the street in my wife's old car she got when she was 16, one shirt, one tie, just scratching to make it. And I survived somehow a couple of years. I actually met a stockbroker who told me about stocks and bonds and mutual funds. I said, I don't know what that is, but take me to your guy. And again, not very excited to see me. He told me that no one there was under 35 years old and didn't have a college degree, and there was no way I could pass the securities exam. So on a bet, 30 days, self-taught myself, passed the exam, got a desk and a phone, and spent 5 years cold calling anybody, anything, trying to sell investments. Pretty tough at 20. I looked like I was 12. Most people would say, God, I've got grandkids older than you. How can you, manage my money? But I survived. And about 25, I decided I was smarter than everyone. The company I worked for was just selling these captive products that I didn't like. I went a block down the street, opened up Gibson and Company Investments, 10 by 10 office by myself, and started developing like an independent company. 5, 6, 7 more years just trying to survive. But when I got into my middle 30s, I started catching hold and finally really accomplished what was my only goal at that point. Could I develop an income that would give my family a decent lifestyle? And I guess probably in today's dollars, maybe I was making 60,000, 70,000, and really began to think, how can I expand this? But it just had such a minimum mentality. I kept thinking, well, if I try to hire someone to help me, a secretary or someone is 35,000, that's half my income. How can I do that? And I just kept grinding sideways, thinking I could just work harder, get a better calendar. Somehow I was going to get a breakthrough. And all the way up to my early 40s, that's kind of the path I was on. Again, I guess God's intervention, a business coach came into my life. I took a huge risk, took what little money I had, hired him, and it changed everything. He showed me Michael Gerber's book, The E-Myth. Got me in Strategic Coach with Dan Sullivan in Chicago. And I started building a self-managed business that morphed into a very successful family wealth management practice. Had an in-house attorney, accountant. I did their tax returns, built my own real estate investment funds, managed options, commodities, oil and gas. Did estate planning, wills and trust, kind of a all-encompassing to the client base that we had. And had an incredible business. The problem I had was it was really built on kind of an entrepreneur mentality, yet the base of it was a registered investment advisor with the federal government. The level of money we were managing put me in a fiduciary responsibility. And the regulators never liked all those pieces, and we battled all the time. But on one particular day in 2006, on a routine review, they came to a conclusion that somehow I had failed to fully disclose all these relationships. And in their opinion, I did that for the intent of defrauding my clients. And that's what I was charged with. A federal judge, a federal regulator, the SEC, charged me with the intent to defraud my clients. Now, it wasn't a criminal charge. There was no money missing. It was very transparent. It was simply like a rules violation, but that was putting my license in jeopardy, and a 3-year battle ensued, me spending every dime I had with $1,000 an hour legal fees, and that went on for 3 years. Till one day, got a letter in the mail offering a settlement. Small amount of money, it was be over with. I would agree not to discuss it publicly, and they wouldn't either. I took the settlement, thought it was done. About a month later, they refused to renew my license, and I objected that I should get a hearing. They said, you're not going to get a hearing because you've said you can't discuss it publicly. And it came to a halt. I sued the SEC in the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals, and after a year, I lost. The ruling was, it wasn't a criminal charge. I wasn't entitled to due process. It's their license. They can take it if they want. And I walked out on the sidewalk, a banned financial advisor. And when that happened, every other license had a provision that if I had an SEC problem, I couldn't keep those other licenses. 2 weeks, life insurance went away, CFP, all the options, commodities, everything. I had nothing, no money, all debt, a really difficult situation. Now, this is a good part of the story and why I'm here, because The fact that I built that business on a self-managed basis, it created a situation where it continued to pay me an income. For 10 years, I drew a substantial income from the business. The client still loved me. The business ran with the systems I'd built, and it put me in an incredible position. I no longer had to deal with a government license and all the requirements of that, so I could be free to be an entrepreneur. And it allowed me to ask this question: what would I do if I didn't have to worry about money? That I would just do something that I wanted to have an impact. And I remembered when that business coach came into my life, and I became passionate about becoming a business coach that might be able to have an impact in someone else's business like that guy had in mind. And then I started realizing how building that self-managed business saved me and built my future. And today, that's all I think about, all I talk about is helping entrepreneurs grow their business, scale it into a business that can work even if they're not there. Now, I think you might want to do that. You might need to do that. But I will make an argument that there could be a situation where you have to do that. An illness, someone in your family needs you. And in this cancel culture today, it could happen to anyone. So that's why I'm so excited about being here this evening. And hopefully we'll be talking about some issues that can really help you scale your business. So let's get started. Let me start out here before we get into the traction book, I want to walk you through a couple of questions that you need to ask yourself before you start on this endeavor of scaling your business. The first thing I want to tell you is the number one issue to growing and scaling your business is a change of mindset. The most difficult thing I see is walking people through the fact that if you're going to scale your business, it has nothing to do with doing what you do. Being a plumber has nothing to do with owning a plumbing business. So it takes a change of mindset that you want to develop a company that can deliver what you've been delivering. And that's not easy. If you've been used to being the one to actually get it done, see it done, make it happen, now you've got to switch to a mindset of building a team, building systems, recruiting people, motivating. That's not a job that most people or some people want. And if that's you, stay as a plumber. Plumbing needs to get done. Not everyone needs to be in an ownership position. The second thing that I want to walk you through, what is your unique skill or ability? What do you just do uniquely well? And the third question, what is that you're doing that currently drives your income? What makes you the most money today? Now, the answer to these questions is not nearly as important as the answer to the question needs to be the same. So many times I'll talk with people about scaling and I'll ask them this question and it's three different answers. Well, what I really love is working on boats. I just love doing that. Are you good at that? Not really, but I like doing it. You making any money at it? No, I make my money doing IT work. Oh, geez. Well, it's important before you start scaling a business that you're really comfortable about these three match up. You're going to need them to line up because building that company can be challenging, difficult, and really having a focus is so important. So let's talk a little bit about this third area that I want to run by you. And that is the last thing you need to have in good order before you start. You need to be sure you got the right product with the right service and the right market. That's something if you don't have in order and settled already, you can't start into this process of scaling the business with still a debate about what product should we be offering and who would really want to buy it. And are we in the right market? Really work to get these things settled before you start. And sometimes when you're not there and people hire me, I have to spend some time helping them in this area before we can get started. So when you get into the book of Traction, the core of the book is that the writer Gino Wickman talks about the fact that in business, there are hundreds of issues you have to deal with. Sometimes I feel like it's thousands of issues. But if you get back, look at it from 1,000 feet high looking down, you will find that all business issues generally fall into these 6 sections. And if you can understand these sections and master them, this is the path to really getting control and building a self-managed business. So what I'm going to do is talk about these in kind of an overview, and then we're going to come back and dig into them a little bit deeper. So let's talk a little bit about vision. Of course, the vision component is where he spends the bulk of the time, because until you get clarity about what your business should be doing in the future, what it looks like, what you're going to be delivering, it's the key to getting a strong start. And we're going to spend a little time in that area, really digging deep into how to find your vision, what the company looks like, where you're going. Then we'll move into an area called people. One of the big sectors of your business is just simply getting the right people in the right seat. And in that sector, we'll be talking about how do you do that? How do you judge and gauge the people that you've got on your team? Are they in the right area? Finding the right people in the right seat is crucial. Then we'll spend some time talking about this section of data. You just can't run your business effectively unless you're getting the right information to you to see how it's doing when it gets off course. And most small business owners don't have a good process of seeing the numbers and seeing how that's driving the business. Then we're going to talk about issues. The key to running an effective business is having a methodology where the issues that you're dealing with can be recognized, listed, addressed, and a system to move them towards getting them solved. It's a big part of traction that we'll be spending some time in. Next is process. In that area, it's imperative that you build your business in a repeatable process, both in the operational side, and I'm going to show you a piece of how to build it from a marketing side, where you can take what you do and turn that into a name branded system or solution. I'm so big on that, and I've seen it work so well. I've even written an ebook about it, how you can, it's a system to help you take what you do and put it into a system. And then lastly, traction. It's when you have those other 5 components under control and you're actually getting them implemented and results are coming. And the way that's done, we'll talk in that sector about having very effective weekly meetings and quarterly meetings to keep those other sectors in good order. So that's the basis of traction. So JD, I know you're utilizing that now. We're going to start breaking that down. Any comments about this big picture view?
Yes, yeah. So we started implementing traction in 2020 at Croft and Frost, and Traction is a book by Gino Wickman. If you have not read it and you own a business, you're missing out. It is the playbook for your business. And if you have read it once, like I did, and then put it down and never implemented it, you're missing out on an unbelievable opportunity to start to turn your business into passive income, because that's what we've been able to do at Croft and Frost. And we have quarterly meetings with our executive leadership team. We have meetings weekly within our departments, and those meetings follow a certain routine and a certain cadence that just gets everybody on the same page. And our business has changed tremendously. Now, it doesn't happen overnight, that's for sure. It takes a lot of work, takes a lot of diligent work, and we have seen tremendous results now in 2023 based off the work that we started in 2020. So it's extremely powerful. And each one of these different areas, even as I'm looking at it right now, it's crazy to see each one of these different areas and see how much we've improved looking back on those different areas too. And that's what Lynn has helped a whole lot in the background with us and our team, and working directly with me personally, with Paul, with our leadership team as well, in developing traction in your business.